Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. This is your host, Erin Bradley, and we have an incredible, long awaited interview in store for you with my good friend, Sharon Lechter. And we were just talking before that we haven't had her on the show yet, which I cannot believe how that's possible because I had the honor of being mentored by Sharon several years ago. And it was very life changing for me, as I think this podcast will be for you. So, Sharon has done many things in her lifetime, and she is a well known financial literacy expert. She's a keynote speaker. She's a business mentor. She's also the co author of the international bestseller Rich Dad Poor Dad, along with 14 other books in that series. So if you've ever read that book, you've known Sharon, and she's also the author of many other life changing books. So I'm not going to tell her entire life story because we'd waste too many of my words on this interview. So let's just jump right in. Sharon, thank you for being here with us today. I'm so excited to have you.
Well, thank you, Erin. I'm delighted to be here. Very proud of what you've created in the lives that you're changing as well. So, congratulations.
So give us a little bit of the backstory, and then I want to bring us up to speed as to how you got to where you are today, about to release this new future bestseller, which I'm really excited to talk about. But there's more to the story than simply Sharon, the author and the mentor. You've had an incredible life of creating an extraordinary impact on the world through everything that you've created. And I'm just blessed to know you and be a part of the wisdom and the magic that you've brought into my life as well as so many others.
Well, thank you, Erin. Well, it really started when I was a child. I had parents who talked about money at the dinner table, and I didn't realize that that was unique until I got into the real world. At the age of 10, I was a real estate investor. I was scrubbing out bathrooms between tenants. My dad had orange groves. He talked about the oranges every year were cash flow. The land itself was appreciating. And now part of that orange grove is part of SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida. So I learned from the inside out. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom was an entrepreneur. She had beauty shops. He had a car lot in addition to a full-time job. They just never stopped. And so it was something that just I learned is osmosisly, just being there. And it wasn't, I was at a time where I was the only woman in my business school, in the business classes. So I decided I was going to be an accountant. I wanted to be a professional. First woman in public accounting. Four of us started at the same time in the Southeast United States. And so again, I was a trailblazer. Didn't realize that that was unique. I just knew that if I wanted to succeed, I had to work harder than the guys that started with me. And so, very, very, very successful within the public accounting arena until I was about 25 and realized that I was working incredibly long hours. I was not in control of my life. And I am kind of a control freak. So it was like, okay, is this all there is? I'm going to be working like this for the rest of my life. And I had a client invite me to leave public accounting and join him. He was buying a company out of bankruptcy for a new technology he had. He wanted to use the net operating carry forward. So it's like own a piece of the rock. I went back to my condo and did the old pros and cons because this was before PCs, before cell phones, old yellow legal pad. And it didn't help me a bit because I could argue both sides. But my hand took off across the top of the page and wrote, why not? And that's still my mantra today, many, many years later, almost 50 years later. Why not do something different? Why not solve a problem or serve a need? Why not take that path less traveled? And so I made the decision to leave. It actually happened to be a terrible business decision. But had I not made that terrible business decision, I wouldn't have met my husband, Michael Lechter, and we just celebrated 45 years of marriage. So I always tell people sometimes, you just have to wait for the benefit. As Napoleon Hill says, out of every adversity comes a seed of an equal greater benefit. And I had my worst business decision, gave me my best life decision. But as I continued forward in very entrepreneurial endeavors, I continued to see how businesses succeeded, but probably more importantly, how businesses failed. And it wasn't until my own son, I started children's talking books, the first ones ever, ones that had sound strips down the side. So I started that industry and grew it around the world. But then my oldest son went off to college in September, came home in December in credit card debt. And that was December of 1992. And that's when I dedicated the rest of my career to financial education and financial literacy. He'd gotten to college and there were tables free t-shirt, free money, free pizza, free money. So he had a really good time his first semester in college. But it was like, I brought it home to me. It's like, we're not teaching our kids about money in school, and they're just getting derailed at very early ages. And so I'm still on that mantra right now. We're up to 30 states that require a personal finance class for high school graduation. I will not rest until it's 50. But that I started working with school systems. My hair used to be red. If you ever work with school systems, that's why it's white. And in 1996, I met Robert Kiyosaki at a beta test for the board game Cash Flow. And because of my background in building a global brand and manufacturing and publishing, I volunteered to help him get his board game done. He'd gone to see my husband for some patent help. And in that process, he told me he was going to charge $200 for this cash flow game. And I said, that's pretty pricey. Maybe you should write a brochure. And that's when he asked me to be his partner. We were equal partners. And we wrote 15 books together. The first brochure that we wrote was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so we had no idea it would take on a life of its own, which it did. You know, we ended up in 110 countries, 51 languages, over 36 million books sold. And so we built the largest personal finance brand in the world. And we were partners for 10 years. I was the CEO because I knew how to build it. And it was an incredible experience. I thought Rich Dad was my legacy, but somebody upstairs said, no, there's more for you to do. So I made the decision to leave in 2007, 10 years. And we know what was happening to the economy in 2007, 2008. And I got the call from President Bush. He asked me to be on the very first President's Advisory Council for Financial Literacy. I served both President Bush and President Obama. And then in March of '08, I got the call from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I'm a huge Napoleon Hill fan. And because of what was happening in the economy, they wanted to reinvigorate the teachings of Napoleon Hill because many young people didn't know who he was. And that was a huge honor. I would not have gotten either of those calls had I still been at Rich Dad. So I challenge your audience and challenge anybody watching and listening. Is there a door in your life you need to close for other doors to open? Because had I not made that decision, I wouldn't have had these opportunities. And it was an incredible experience. I worked very closely with the foundation. I wrote 4 books with them, and we truly did bring Napoleon Hill's teachings to the younger generation. It's been an incredible experience. And since then, I've continued speaking around the world. I speak to entrepreneurs, to corporate groups, and anyone, women's groups, helping them to get the education they need to take control of their financial lives. And so it's just been an incredible experience. I've written multiple books since then. My 29th book is coming out in January. So it's called Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth. And I'm pretty excited about it.
I have to say, I'm sure many of the listeners have at some point read one of your books. And ironically, Rich Dad Poor Dad was the book that my manager gave to me the day I decided to go from a W-2 job as a processing assistant in a mortgage company to a 100% commission person as a salesperson, because it was the beginning of going from, okay, I'm going to be an employee to self-employed. But then it was also like, he said, you're going to read this book and then you're going to also learn how to invest your money. And one of the things that you said, I want you to share it, but what do you love to say about assets when you're on stage?
Well, most people learn to chase income, exchange time for money. And I learned to buy, build, or create assets that generate the income. And so that is my message is don't chase the income, chase the assets. And I always say assets are sexy. And they are. And the older you get, the sexier they become.
I love that so much. And it's the timing of having you on the show is perfect because we've been talking about the concept of the breakup and how many people at some point in their lives broke up with a romantic partner, or if you haven't ever broken up with somebody, you've quit a job, or maybe you've relocated, and that those decisions change timelines because if usually up until the moment that you have the courage to have that hard conversation, you know deep down inside you're tolerating something that's not quite right. Like maybe it was right for a season, but it's not right now. And it's always scary because you think, I can't close this door because this is fill in the blanks. It's
It's
not
what
that
I
bad.
know, even if it's not comfortable. It's still what I know, and I don't want to shake the boat. Yeah.
Talk us through the upcoming book, Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth, and how did this come to be, and tell us about what we can expect to learn from it.
Well, certainly. Well, as you and I have talked about, you've been a client of mine. One of my most cherished things that I do is one-on-one mentoring with high-level people that are really want to make a difference in the world, and they just need to find the tools to help them go to that next step, to find that courage. And so it's just something that I really love to do. And one of my most recent clients is a young man named Nathan Barkosi. And his story just opened my eyes. And he has such a passion for his generation. At the age of 16, he was ranked nationally as a cyclist, not only ranked nationally, but was on his way to the Olympics, Olympic trials. And he was training on a road in New Mexico, and a car going 60 miles an hour hit him and threw him 100 yards. And he was pronounced dead at the scene, and they were able to get him back. And it took him months to be able to walk and talk and eat again. And he could have just kind of given up on his dreams. And he turned his drive and initiative and his passion towards creating freedom for himself. And he did it through real estate. He's now a multimillionaire in real estate, and he's very passionate about sharing the process of buying, building, creating income producing assets through real estate with his generation. And his story was so impactful, and his passion, and he's very, very involved with his church. He's very involved. He's got two beautiful little boys. And so it's just such refreshing to see his passion, his desire to help younger generations. And I'm always looking for those shining lights like you, Aaron, where I can really help elevate their voice and get them in a position to be able to truly accomplish what their mission and their vision is. He became a client, and our goal was to position him as a mouthpiece for his generation. And in that process, he asked me if he'd co-author the book that he wanted to write. And it's really an incredible opportunity to see somebody blossom that really has a message and a passion for helping other people. And he's totally surprised me, Aaron. You'll appreciate this because you've been there. The book about understanding old wealth, the old slow and go, buy and hold, versus new wealth, which is the shiny object syndrome, all these new internet gimmicks, and to true wealth, what true wealth is. And each one of them has their place, but you can combine all three to truly create that platform. And true wealth is really not about money, but who you become, and the value of your family, your relationships, your time. And it's such an incredible journey of talking about this. And he surprised me because when I got the first draft of the book, he placed it as a business retreat at my ranch, which it was life-changing for him. And he brings his two brothers. So it's a story, a parable of three brothers. Old wealth is Olden, new wealth is Newton, and true wealth is Nathan. And about the journeys they've each had and how they've discovered the pathway to creating true wealth in their lives. It's a great work of opening your mind to the world of possibilities on how to take control of your life and how to create the pathway and the vision to create a lifetime of joy and freedom.
So would you say it's sort of a compilation of or maybe an integration of the different concepts of, with Think and Grow Rich, and you authored Think and Grow Rich for Women. So for any of the ladies that are listening, there's a newer version, a more, I would say, I don't know if modern isn't exactly the right word, but contemporary, right? And directed towards women building wealth. And so, a lot of that does start with the mindset, but then many of your books also have the tactical approach, right? Like, so is this sort of a parable around the mindset of it, or is there also strategy and tactical approach to taking those first steps to building that true wealth?
It's all of those, all of the above. It does not go into specific tax strategies. That's not what this book about is about positioning your mindset to understand. Don't chase the income, chase the asset. Don't chase success at all costs, and success is not dollars and cents. Success is your life and how you, and who you become in the process. So there is a lot of tactical stuff in there, but it's really also getting people to like release the old mores of what wealth truly is about. I have so many very wealthy friends who've lost their family along the way, divorce because they chase the money at all costs. And that's something that I hope people will wake up and say, wealth isn't just about money. It's about who you are and who your family is and what you surround yourself with.
I love that. Yes, because at Pursuing Freedom, I always say that I always use the word success loosely because when you hear that word, our mind, our fear-based analytical mind goes to external success, financial success. And I always define success as unlimited present moments with the people that matter most to me, both personally and professionally, right? And like how we can be more selective in building a life of fulfillment that brings abundance because you're actually energized by the relationships in your professional life as well as your personal life. So, I do have a question for you, having started so young in your journey with chasing assets and building cash flow and building that long-standing wealth that you said, grows with age, right? Gets sexier with age. How would you say your advice has changed over the years, or do you feel like, I guess as it relates to the shifting markets as of late, right? Like, do you feel like the asset classes need to change based on the fluctuations in the economy, or do you stay tried and true with certain types of assets?
Well, 90% of the world's millionaires made their money or keep their money in real estate. So I think real estate is definitely a staple in here to stay. You just have to know your numbers. You need to make sure you buy real estate with numbers, not emotion. And that's the biggest problem. I see people, they buy things because they get emotionally attached to it. But I talk about diversification across asset categories. A personal financial planner will tell you to diversify against stocks, bonds, mutual funds, paper assets. Well, paper assets is one category. You've got paper assets, real estate, businesses, you've got commodities, gold, silver, titanium, and then you have intellectual property, which is my favorite asset, and that's sharing what you know in a form that you can get paid for, turn it into an asset. And then you have collectibles and digital currencies. All those are assets. Now, collectibles don't give you cash flow, but they hopefully give you appreciation over time. And so diversify across asset categories. Now, you've heard the term alternative assets. Well, that includes things like commodities, it includes things like oil and gas, all those alternatives that give you the opportunity to spread your risk. And when one piece of the market goes down, another piece goes up. You see that in the incredible rise of gold and silver right now. And so it's really important to understand how to prepare yourself and defend against huge market shifts.
Okay, so talk to me about the advice that you'd give to someone who's listening, and I hear this a lot, which is why I want to bring this question up. There's oftentimes men and women will say, I feel like I waited too long, or it's too late for me, or maybe they got burned on some investments in, let's just say, the last 5 years, for example, because they were jumping in and getting aggressive, shiny object syndrome, and now they're feeling a little scarred and afraid. Like, how have your conversations evolved in recent years, and specifically just to people in different age groups that maybe feel like, they waited too long? Is there such a thing?
Well, there's two questions there. One is you're never too old to get started. Never. As an employee, yes, maybe you are, but as an entrepreneur, I have a lady that started a new business at 75, right? So it's never too late to get in the world of entrepreneurship. When you do that, though, you have to have certain planning tools. And as an investor, I don't know a successful investor, not one, that hasn't had some missteps, some mistakes, some things that went in the wrong direction. You learn from it and hopefully you don't repeat that. But the other thing is don't try to do it on your own and don't, listen to hype on the internet as to what you should buy or somebody in the elevator. Do your homework, know your numbers, get the right kind of advice to understand what your risk tolerance is because a lot of people have very high risk tolerance and so they can still go to bed and go to sleep at night. You may have a very low risk tolerance, so you need to establish your portfolio so you can sleep at night. You may have a lot of responsibility, a lot of people that you take care of, so your risk tolerance needs to be lower than someone else's. You may be in your 60s versus your 30s, so your risk tolerance is probably a little lower than somebody in their 30s. So all of those things are become emotional to us. That's why you need an advisor or a mentor that can help you because they're not coming at it from a position of emotion. High emotion, low intelligence. Right. And so when you talk about life changes, whether you have a divorce or a financial setback, that's not the time to be making a lot of decisions on your own because you're highly emotional, high emotion, low intelligence, and it's really important. But the other issue is your next best opportunity is not found in your comfort zone. So you
Mm.
need to expose. I always challenge people, when was the last time you did something for the first time? That's how you meet new people. That's how you find new networking groups. That's how you find new deals, new opportunities, not where you swim on a regular basis. You need to find a new watering hole, a new way, step out of your comfort zone and do something you've never done because that's what's going to expand your horizon. That's what's going to trigger your creativity. And that's entrepreneurship is simply creativity in action.
You're just sitting here bored, publishing books, traveling and speaking on stages, mentoring humans, all the things. If someone's listening and thinking, I want you in my corner, Sharon, who are some of your ideal clients these days?
Well, first of all, I'm never bored. I'm always busy and I absolutely love what I do. I love asking questions. I'm a mentor, not a coach. So a mentor has been where you want to be and they ask questions, steer you around pitfalls, and introduce you to their network and open doors of opportunity for you. So I'm a great mentor. My partner in crime here at this company is Angela Topman, and she's a fantastic coach. She's the accountability queen. So together we make a pretty dynamic duo. And I'm constantly looking for somebody who is not afraid to take action or needs a little push to take action, that is either looking to take their business to the next level. I have people who've had major exits who are trying to figure out what's the next stage in their life and what to do with their money. But I really love being able to identify new areas of expansion, new areas of scaling. One of my most recent books was called Exit Rich, all about taking a successful business, making it sustainable, scalable, and saleable. And it's such an incredible opportunity for people to identify how to add value to their business and how to expand it. And I love people who come to me realizing that they are their own stopgap. They are preventing the business from growing because they're still holding on to it. And if they recognize it, that's the first step in creating the scalability.
I love that. Well, you helped me so much with the year that I got to spend time with you. And I knew I was at that crossroads. It was actually really funny, Sharon, because your name was mentioned by three different people in a 24-hour time frame. And I always believe that the universe is nudging us, right? Like they call them God winks, whatever you want to call it, but there's signs always about the next door to step through. And I thought to myself, okay, this is the third time in 24 hours that someone has said the name Sharon Lechter. And I think I just called you immediately and met you and Angela and jumped right in. And it was a major crossroads in my life. And you were there to support me and guide me and be, like you said, the person who's been where I'm trying to go, or not necessarily where I'm trying to go, but you've been places I haven't been yet. And so it is really powerful to get in the room with the people that remind you of the future you want for yourselves. And it's crazy how fast life can transform when you say yes and you bet on you. And so if someone is listening and needs that nudge, I'm telling you now that working with Sharon was truly life changing. And if you've been along this journey with me for a long time, you know there's been some major changes in recent years, and a lot of that confidence was developed thanks to spending time with people that could see in me what I can't always see in myself. And I think that's what's so important about mentorship and coaching. So tell us now, if somebody's listening and they're planning their 2026 and beyond events and their conferences, what are some of your favorite stages and or locations if you get to be picky?
Well, I love it. Yeah, I travel all over the world speaking, and if I can add value to somebody's community, I always try to make it work. Reach out to me. My email is easy, info@sharonlechter.com. You can go to my website, sharonlechter.com. We talk about our mentoring program there. You can do an application process, and you'll hear from Angela, who will walk you through it to see if we're a good fit. And then, of course, all my products and services. I have a lot of online content that helps people very affordably get to the next level. And then we have different levels of mentoring as well. And all my books are there as well. And my new book, if you want more information about that, you go to sharonlechter.com/true wealth. TrueWalth, and you'll have more information about that. But I just want to acknowledge you, Aaron, because I think with working with you, it was an interesting time because you were in a high emotion state, and it didn't change what you wanted to do, but we just created that process for over a certain amount of time where you could structure your exit so that when you made the exit, you had those assets ready to support you. And it was fantastic working with you. And I love people that are in transition because I can bring, you know, the mother aspect to it and help people through it from an emotional standpoint as well as strategically what they're doing from a business perspective.
Well, I'm glad you used that word, that mother aspect, because there's more to you, Sharon, than your brilliance, and it's your heart. Oh no, I'm going to get emotional because I got to spend time with you and your husband at your ranch, and you have a heart of gold. And so it's more than just the education that you bring, it's the love. And my mentor recently said something that I've been repeating on stage all through the fourth quarter. And she said that the most impressive person in the room is not the wealthiest or the best dressed or the best car. The most impressive or most interesting person in the room is the most loving. And that's what I felt from working with you. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you. That means the world to me. Now you got me emotional.
So one more thing is that I really enjoy following you on Instagram as well, because it's like having you in my pocket with these little nuggets of gold. And can you share other ways besides the website and info@sharonlechter.com that they can find you on?
I'm on Facebook, author Sharon Lechter. My private page is Sharon Lechter. Obviously, Instagram, I'm Sharon Lechter. And then I also, Aaron, I have a program that's pretty inexpensive. When I get mad about something, I start another company, because successful businesses solve problems and serve needs. So when COVID hit, I was disgusted by all the negativity and all the fear. So I started a program. It's a daily motivational tip. It's called ATM, a take on the bank deposit, but it stands for Abundance, Tips, and Mentorship. And it's a daily message for me. I have over 2,000 messages already. And it comes to you either audio or on your phone or email, whichever, or both if you want it. It's like $8 a month. You can check it out at atm.sharonlechter.com. And right now we give you the first month free so you can see if that's something you want to do. So atm.sharonlechter.com.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And I'm so excited for the book to come out. So we will be pushing this episode to make sure that hopefully it releases before the launch of the book. And where will people be able to find that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, it'll be all online bookstores. You'll be able to get it. You'll be able to get it through my website. To find out actual release dates, check out sharonlechter.com/true wealth, and we'll have information there as far as that's concerned. It should be launching January 23rd, 2026. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. I love you so much.
I love you too, Erin. So proud of you. Thank you for what you're doing and congratulations on your continued success. You're
Yeah.
changing the world.
Yes, and to all my listeners out there, thank you as always for tuning in. You know how much I love and appreciate you. If you are enjoying this content, please stop what you're doing wherever you are and leave that 5-star review because it does help us to continue to attract amazing guests like Sharon and help this content get found so more people can get out there, build a life you don't need a vacation from. I love you so much. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time.